You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Thank you for joining me here today on our Training Thursday show, where we talk about all things health, wellness, fitness, exercise, everything that's going to allow you to achieve your goals of being a healthier, happier human being. One of the things that I want to share with you today, though, is there's actually a form of exercise, maybe not given the credit that it's due, because we've kind of swung in the other direction right now in terms of the type of exercise that most personal trainers and experts recommend, with good reason. I want to talk about that with good reason. But this certain form of exercise has now been shown, believe it or not, to actually increase our potential for living longer. And the reason I say that is that a few shows back, on episode 567, so stephencabral.com/567, we went over a specific test called telomere testing. And telomere testing actually shows you something which is called your mitotic clock. I love that new phrase that I just learned about a month or so ago. Mitotic clock. It just sounds great. Well, what is it? Well, really, it's just talking about something called mitosis. And mitosis is really looking at cell growth, cell division, renewal. It's 4 phases. So it's something called the prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase of your cells. And all that means is that at the end of your cells, at the end of your chromosomes, your DNA, there's these things called telomeres. And the shorter they get, the more worn down they get, well, the less likely you're going to be living a longer, stronger life. I love the analogy, which I shared in that show, of it being like the plastic tips on the end of your shoelaces. Once those tips just start to get brittle and worn away, well, eventually, kind of those shoelaces are no good anymore. And that's the same with your specific cells. Well, believe it or not, we can actually test the age now of your biological age. So your biological age, meaning versus your chronological. So chronological, plain and simple, is the number of birthdays you've celebrated. So you might be 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, 75. However old you are listening to this show, that's your chronological age. But your biological age could be much less or much greater. For example, I just recently tested someone. They have gone through my wellness protocol. They're living a nice, healthy life. So I move people essentially from weight loss to wellness to anti-aging. You need to lose the weight first because it can get you so healthy once you get down to your healthy body weight. Then do the wellness-based work that you need to if there's anything left to work on. And then you can look at the anti-aging. So they've kind of done the work. Well, they're 38-year-olds. Believe it or not, their telomere age, their biological age is 19. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. But I've also worked with people, one person I can think of specifically right now, chronological age, so 43 birthdays they've celebrated, 59 for their biological age. So they're aging faster internally than we want them to. Now we know there are actually things they can do to slow the aging process. So people say, oh, what's this whole thing about anti-aging? Well, there's actually a whole science behind it. You can slow the aging process. One way to do that is to increase the length of the telomeres. And those are the end caps on those cells. So it's basically like if you've been able to put new plastic wrap on those old shoelaces, you'd be able to extend the life of those shoelaces. So what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about a specific form of exercise, believe it or not. So in the future, I'll do all the different things that you can do to slow the aging process and actually increase your longevity. I will do a whole show on that. But today, from an exercise perspective, believe it or not, there's a form of exercise, typically not given its due, myself as well, no doubt about it, that will also help you to live longer. And what is that? It's cardio. It's cardiovascular work. Now, again, as personal trainers, as fitness coaches, all of these things, we like to say, well, by doing high intensity interval training, by doing resistance-based work like strength training, whether it's body weight or lifting weights or cables or whatever it might be, you're going to improve the shape of your body. And you absolutely will. That is truth personified, meaning you do it, you get the results, and your body looks like it. You actually look like you're an athletic human being because you're doing the work to get you there. And that has to do with doing things like presses and pulls, squats, lunges, deadlifts, step-ups. Like those are your main lifts, some chops, some different things for your core. That is how you transform your body. So that's called anaerobic-based work typically. We can even include intervals in that, meaning that you're doing hill sprints or stair sprints or 30 seconds to 60 seconds of work. All of those things are great. Well, and again, for good reason, we've kind of gotten away from cardio. Here's why. The good reason was this. Marathon training, long distance running, that used to be promoted as how to get healthy. Well, we know now that excessive endurance work, that excessive steady state work, not only will it not transform your body in terms of you want it to look better, it won't do that. It will not do that. Okay. It burns calories temporarily, but only doing the strength training, the interval training, those types of things works your metabolism. You need to boost your metabolism. So even when you're not exercising, your metabolism's been boosted. You're better able to utilize glucose, all of those things. Well, so what we did was we said, no, marathon training, long distance training is bad. It actually creates these things called micro tears in the heart. All of these things showing that marathon runners don't live longer. If anything, they live less. They don't live as long. They're not as healthy. Their immune system does go down. And that's a byproduct of that excessive catabolic state that we get from running, not the anabolic state, but the catabolic. Too much breakdown, too much stress in the body, too much free radical damage, without a doubt. That's what happens when there's too much cardio, too much running. But the thing is, especially in the United States, UK, Canada, Australia, all these countries where Europe, where we typically if a little's good, a lot must be better. One of those things, we just kind of shift in one direction. So we've shifted a lot, again, myself included, to doing more of the high intensity, the resistance-based work. And we forgot that there's sometimes a middle ground. So that's why I always have to keep my mind open. I have to keep it open. And I say, what is true today will probably still be true tomorrow, but we may have left something out in the meantime. All right. So there's oftentimes we like to say in over exaggeration in the short term, meaning like high intensity interval training, resistance training. They are great and you should do them 2 to 3 times a week. And you have to. I really believe that in order to be a stronger, healthier human being. But sometimes in the long term, there was that over exaggeration. So meaning there was an under exaggeration of cardio in the long term. We forgot about that. So what does that mean? Well, here's the thing. We are now seeing that one of the number one ways. So again, I'm getting into this anti-aging deep, besides just genetics. Like what else can we look at? Inflammatory markers, immune markers, all of those things. Well, one of those things looking at telomeres is there's a number of things that will increase telomere length. So if I want to live to 1,000 years old, I have to start now. I can't start 10 years from now, 20 years. I need to start now. So when I'm looking at those things, I say, interesting. The number one way that we know of right now to increase telomere length is actually running, is cardio. And it's so strange to look at that, is that when we look at whether it's sleep or good eating, it's exercise. So it's interesting to look at maybe that physical activity, physical stress, and you can look this up on PubMed, just type in running increases telomere length and you'll find it right on PubMed. So again, this is all science-based. Everything I give you is based on scientific evidence and proof. Just because you haven't heard it before, or hasn't been published in the Wall Street Journal or any of these things doesn't mean it's true. These studies have been published in Time Magazine. So yeah, I don't know if you're a Time Magazine person, I'm not. But again, this is mainstream stuff. It's just your PCP will not have been taught it. And your doctors probably won't have been taught. This stuff's not taught in schools. So you have to be so interested in natural health that you've just become an obsession, it's my obsession. I think it's a good obsession. There are a lot worse things I could get into, right? I want to share it with you, but I want to learn it for myself as well. I want to learn it for my family. I want everybody to know about this. And so right now, I'll tell you the truth. I'm not big on cardio. I'm not. But I want to see how low I can get my biological age. So I'm going to start to increase my cardio. Now, how much should you do? Here's the thing, because we can go overboard. Somewhere, it's all based on the individual, because it's based on, when you look at the studies on PubMed, It's based on rate of perceived exertion. You have to be pushing yourself to a moderate intensity level, not super vigorous, but moderate. And that's different for each person. So from most people though, because everybody needs some advice of where to start, you're going to run for somewhere around, or not just run, because I'm going to give you options, 20 to 30 minutes. That's it. And that's all I plan on doing. I'm going to add that in a couple more days a week, or not a couple more days a week. I'm going to add that in a couple days a week. So when we're looking at that, what are we looking at? Well, we're looking at, okay, 20 to 30 minutes. That could be 3 miles for you. It could just be 1 mile. It could be 1.5 miles. It will eventually increase as your cardiovascular capacity increases. But what it's doing along the way is increasing that telomere length. Now, it's going to take you 3 to 6 months to start to increase that length. Why? Well, we're looking at it from a leukocyte white blood cell perspective. We need time for the turnover to happen. It's not going to happen overnight. But that's why none of this is meant to be looked as hacks or quick fixes. I could have called this a telomere hack to live longer, a biological hack to live longer, but I don't want to talk like that. What I want to say is this is the truth in healthy living. This is the truth in anti-aging. My recommendation has never changed. Maybe it changes in the future, but what I'm saying to you will never be wrong. 2 to 3 times a week of resistance-based training work. Why? It's going to keep your muscle strong. It's going to keep your bone strong. It's going to keep your metabolism elevated as you age, and you can't start tomorrow. You need to start today. You need to get started today to start doing some bodyweight exercises. Some squats. Just do some squats. Do some one-legged brave warrior, like a Romanian deadlift-based exercise. Just start with your body weight if you want. Do some push-ups. Put your hands on your bed. You can do an incline push-up if you're not able to do regular push-ups. Do some chin-ups. Use a band if you can't do a regular chin-up. Do some things just to get your body active. 2 to 3 times a week. Start with twice a week. That's fine. Totally fine to do that. Listen back on Training Thursdays. I give you exactly how to progress. I'm not going to talk about that on today's show. But then I also want you then to think about, yes, you can do your interval training, but let's do some cardio as well. 2 days a week. Just start there. That's great. 2 days of resistance, 2 days of cardio. Why not start there? What if you have only 2 days a week? That's all you can give me of working out. Mondays and Thursdays, Wednesdays and Saturdays. That's all you can give me. Okay. 20 minutes resistance training, 20 minutes cardio. Can you do that for me twice a week? 20 minutes push-ups or body weight training, or weights if you can do it, ideally with some weights, because you want to add a little bit extra, right? Remember, specific adaptation to imposed demands. A little bit more each week, a little bit more tension on the body, a little bit more time under tension. All of these things will make your bones stronger. They'll make your muscles stronger. They're going to boost your immune system. They're going to boost your body's ability to burn body fat. All good things. They're going to allow you to eat more calories. Who doesn't want to eat more calories? Who doesn't want to eat more good food, or just more food in general? To eat a cheat meal and not make you gain weight. Well, twice a week and then some cardio. So if you can only give me twice a week, you can give me twice a week of weight training. And you can give me that same twice a week after your weight training, do a little cardio. Weight training first, cardio second. You can do that. I'm telling you right now, you're going to start to reap the benefits of, again, like I said, not only getting healthier, losing weight, transforming your body, but that's anti-aging. Anti-aging doesn't start. It's not something that you'd start to do in your 70s and 80s. You can do it. You can do it in your 70s and 80s. I want you to do it in your 60s, 50s, ideally in your 40s and 30s as well. All of that does matter. It really does. And I'm telling you right now, I'm going to keep sharing with you these little tidbits that when followed, when implemented just week after week. Again, no week is going to make or break you. It's not. Sometimes you travel, you can't get it in, whatever it might be. Try to get 48 out of 52 weeks a year, right? You have 4 weeks off. Try to get 48 of those weeks in where you're doing the 2 days of weight training, the 2 days of cardio. If you can keep them separate, well, now you have 4 days of exercise. And you can mix and match. There's all sorts of different ways to do it. You can download the welcome package on my website. It gives you my ideal week of working out, all those different things. Again, that's all free. What I want you to do, though, is I want you to say, I can't do it all, but I can at least do something. You have to start with what you can do right now. Don't give me the excuse that, well, I can't do 5 days a week, so I'm not going to do it all. I don't care if you can only do 1 day a week. I want you to start with 1 day a week. I don't care if you can only give me 5 minutes in the morning of doing a plank, a boat, and maybe a little bit of a jog in place or some jumping jacks, or a little bit of jumping up and down a rebounder. Do anything that motivates you to move forward. Anything. And everyone can do that. Well, you say, I can't run. You were just talking about running. I understand. Use an exercise bike. Oh, I don't belong to a gym. I can't use an exercise bike because I don't belong to a gym. Okay, buy an exercise bike. Couple $100. I can't afford to buy a couple $100 exercise bike. Understood? Look on Craigslist. Look at a different place. People are basically giving them away because they bought them with the best of intentions but can't use them. Make somebody a deal. Make somebody an offer. You could probably get one for $50. And if you can't afford $50, save up until you can. Don't go to Starbucks every day and spend $5 on a coffee. 5 times 30 days is $150. So now you just bought yourself an exercise bike. Trust me. You can make your coffee at home for 25 cents. You can save that for, 75, making myself do math right now. And you can put that towards your exercise bike. I'm telling you, you can do that. And just by starting there, because maybe you can't, maybe you have knee issues, maybe you have ankle issues, maybe you have foot issues. Well, you can use that exercise bike, an upright bike, not a recumbent, but an upright bike. And you can do that for 20 minutes, 3 days a week. And you're going to be on your way to lengthening those telomeres, to lengthening or increasing that mitotic clock, and being able to live a longer, stronger, happier, healthier life. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into another Cabral Concept. Appreciate each and every one of your listens. Please do feel free to share this show with anyone you believe it could help. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stephencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.